Nyeba Gomde Lindholme Hall Yende Genge Gemba Sunje Genge Nyen Chego Tamje Kenla Nge Chan to continue our Dharma discussion. Among the view, meditation and conduct, we are now discussing about the conduct or behavior. Maybe one can say that. And one very core and essence of the practice of the Buddha Dhamma in general, especially the Mahayana practice, is to have this Bodhicitta or pure intention or pure mind, which is, as I was saying yesterday, like all-in-one medicine for all our sufferings, cause of sufferings, whether it is attachment, jealousy, anger, can be removed, can be reduced, and can be eliminated by practicing this very powerful, effective, accessible, and without any kind of side effect is we practicing the Bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. So today I will attempt to explain what are the causes and the conditions and the favorable circumstances in order to arise and develop or discover and develop this Bodhicitta, the pure intention. As it is mentioned in the mind training scriptures and the suttas. There are some misunderstandings that, or the misperceptions that we might have. It's important to clarify. Because sometimes we might overlook or underestimate by saying that, well, anyway, this intention is just a thought. It does nothing. It's just an idea, or it's just a thought. And I remember this long time ago. One time I was going to somewhere in Kathmandu, and I saw this big advertisement slogans in the front of, I think it's fitness center or gym or something like that. And it says that you don't get what you wish, you get what you work for. So it's saying that wish is not you have to work. And since in Buddhism we make lots of these wish practices, aspirations, so many, it made me think, what is more important? Then I realized that it's true that you get what you work for, but if you don't wish, you will never work. Why you spend money, torture yourself in the gym, right? If you don't wish for anything. Especially these days, people are very busy. You pay, it's quite expensive, yeah? So work, where does this work come from? It's coming from wish. It means that if you don't wish to have a proper body or healthy body, why would you go to gym, right? Why would you work even? So it's not true. Yes, it's true, the result comes from work, but work comes from wish, right? Without a wish, nothing can be done. So what I'm trying to say is this intention, yeah, this wish. It might seem, oh, it's just a thought, but all our action comes from this wish. And our action depends on this wish. If you have a positive wish, you will have a positive action, which will have a positive result. If you have a negative wish, you will do the negative actions, and as you will have a result, negative result. So see, this wish is very important. As I said, it's like a steering wheel. If you don't wish to become a doctor, maybe you will never become a doctor, right? If you don't wish to become this and that, if you don't have that wish at the first, it's almost impossible. Not only that, but to reach our result, there will be lots of causes and conditions and obstacles. Until you don't lose this wish, you are quite okay. You will find out a way to overcome those obstacles. But the moment you wish and stop this wish, then even the small difficulties might find out big obstacles to reach our goal. So this intention, we talk about this wish, that wish to become enlightened in order to help all beings as much as I can. And not only thinking that, oh, one day I become enlightened, then I will have, not of course, right now, doing whatever is possible, everybody has a different potential to help people. Someone has material things, some have knowledge, some have skill. We have different. You just have to find out and see what is my resources in order to do that. And you can do that. So what I was trying to say is that sometimes we just think, oh, it's just wish, yeah? Oh, it's just a thought, and we might disvalue or disregard. And that's very incorrect. We really have to keep this wish and this intention continuously, even though it's not that easy. Now, the second, I think, misconception you might think is when we say the definition of Bodhicitta is that I will become enlightened in order to help sentient beings. Now, if you look at directly, okay, so first you become enlightened and then you will help us. It sounds a little bit strange, right? Why you don't say, I will help you right now, Now, it's important to understand that this is an expression of limitless compassion, limitless vision, okay, as we call the great vehicle. You have a limitless vision, limitless action for the limitless beings. So this might sound a little bit like, sometimes the politicians saying that please vote me, and when I become a leader, then I will make you happy, right? So how to say in English, something is fishy. But what it really means is this, like this. Okay, I want to help, but I want to do it in limitless way. Yeah? I don't want to say I want to help 100 people, I want to help feeding them, or I want to help, not like that, So I want to help the biggest way, the most effective way, what you can do. Of course, I can help as human to human, this I can do. But it will become a very limited, I can only help maybe if I use my physical strength, my verbal strength, I cannot do much. And I can only help them to have a mundane results, not be beyond that. So if somebody really thinks that I want to help, but the biggest way, ultimate way, then if you look at, so who have that kind of power? Who can do that? Buddha. Because Buddha himself is already transcendent from all this samsara, beyond time and space and everything. And we believe that Buddha has a compassion, Buddha has a wisdom, and Buddha has a power to do that. So this is saying that if you wanted to help somebody in the the greatest way, in the unlimited way, then only to do that is from the Buddha's activity. And until you don't become a Buddha, you cannot do it. Your help will be very limited. So to do that, you have to achieve the state of Buddhahood. And this is the idea. Yeah? It's not like the politicians Shulokan saying that first you make me a king, then later I will help you, and and then they don't do that once they become a king. It might sound like that, so you should not misunderstood that I become enlightened for the sake of all the beings. So, and the third thing is that we might think, when we look at ourselves, how much compassion or how much negativities that I have and how much positivities that I have in terms of the state of mind. And even though we use the word like cultivating compassion, but if you look at from the little bit Mahayana's point of view, since all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, and we call it actually the treasure of Bodhicitta is already within us. And the problem is that it's not polished properly now. So you don't actually have to cultivate in a way. You have to discover it and polish it. You already have. If you really dig down, honestly, even you don't want, you have that quality. So what you have to do is through study, through contemplation, through meditation, through teaching, through practice, you really have to be honest with yourself and dig, and you have to discover that, and you have to enhance that quality. And this is exactly all our practice from the Mahayana's point of view is nothing but the enhancing the quality and developing the quality that you already possess, but it is obscured by our ego, self-cherishing mind, in the name of security, whatever. So you just have to undo all these obscurations, and then it will reveal by itself. That's why sometimes we talk a lot about this purification and accumulation, right? This is one reason. If we focus on the purification of the obscuration, the less the obscuration, the more the quality will reveal by itself. And okay, so these are some, I think, misconceptions or misunderstanding we might have about the Bodhicitta. It's very important to be clear for ourselves when we practice Bodhicitta, so that we understand the real value of Bodhicitta. Now to start these cause and conditions, in order to do that, discover and develop our Bodhicitta, it is mentioned that there are 4 cause, 4 conditions, and the 4 favorable, we call it powers. The 12 cause, condition, and the powers that becomes the conducive circumstances in order to generate. These are important. The actual practice in the text, there are many techniques such as the considering about the human being as being our mother, and then reminding their kindness and reminding the paying back their kindness and so forth, and also practicing the exchange oneself with others and so forth. So there are many practices we can do, but as in general, like before we farm, we have to collect all these causes and conditions. The more you have causes and conditions, you have more chances to be developed. So generally speaking, the most important thing is that we should not insist ourselves to practice Bodhicitta. Not, maybe you can do a little bit, but not too much, because you cannot. It's a mind. And because of ignorance and because of our egocentric habits, we have a very strong Bodhicitta's the ego self-defense mechanism. We have that. So whatever it comes against that, it feels something weird, vulnerable, and so on and so forth. So the first thing we have to do is that, okay, so what is the problem? Not being able to discover and develop this pure mind, this self-cherishing mind, right? There's a self and there's a cherishing, self-centric mind, or arrogant, whatever we call it. There's two things we have to do. We have to really observe unbiasedly what is the nature of this self-centric mind, and what is the function of this self-centric mind, and what are the results. So what happens when I have this self-cherishing mind? Does it disturb me, or does it bring peace? Does it make me to behave physically and verbally impure activities, or does it encourage to do something pure activities? And as a result, whether it brings happiness or suffering. So it's quite easy, just we can look at ourselves. For example, let's say we are all here in our class, and the moment if we think, oh, we all are human beings equally, maybe your mind is okay. The moment we start thinking like, oh, I am teacher, they are student, immediately I become a little bit sensitive, see? And then maybe I start judging you, as a student or as a listener, how they should behave, how they should talk to me, how they... So there are so many negatives. Instantly I'm disturbed. And I might get angry, I might shout, whatever. And as a result, we will spoil this class. And then similarly, even from like yourself, if you think, oh, we are same here, maybe not much, but then if you think, oh, I know this, or maybe, oh, he's not, if you start judging me, by your identity, and then it's just won't work. There's so many barriers, and all this will turn into the negative translations, and it will disturb me, it will disturb yourself, it will disturb the environment. This is exactly what happens. And when you have this self-cherishing mind, you become a negative police. You know what I mean? You only see all these negatives, you don't see the positives. Because it's his job, so to speak, his responsibility to hook on the negativities, unfortunately. The moment let's say the moment we start with this class, oh, we all are suffering, we all want to be happy, it's equally, I want to share my happiness with all of them. Everything becomes calm, connected. Something is happening between us. We have a common goal. I become a more bigger. I'm not just one, I'm made out of 4, 5. I look at it as holistic. My suffering, so I don't feel lonely. See, the moment I thought I am teacher, this or student, I put a barrier. I become lonely, psychologically. And then out of my fear, I will do strange things in order to protect. Sometimes we say that thieves, when they encounter with somebody, out of defense, they will do very strange things. Maybe they don't prepared to be killing somebody, but they will do it out of this fear. So one will lead to the one more and more negatives. So unbiasedly thinking, contemplating this self-cherishing mind, what it does is, what is its function, and what kind of result it brings, how it triggers our attachment, anger, jealousy, and what happens when this happens in my mind, and how it impacts my activities. If you start that kind of mental state in the morning, it will affect whole your day. And think a little bit about the qualities of the compassion, equanimity, loving kindness. And that's very common sense, So we don't have to insist bodhicitta. No, it's just a common sense. It makes sense. So you will have this very self-automatic acceptance of the bodhicitta instead of insisting yourself. This is very important. Because it's mind, and you cannot really insist your mind. So now, among the 4 conditions, so mostly these conditions are the favorable conditions in order to recognize our mind, bodhicitta, or to remind ourselves to continuously keep practicing those bodhicittas. So it acts as in both, as in arising and maintenance. The first is called the conditions of seeing or hearing. So this means that we need inspiration, source of inspiration. So it's important to have a teacher who have compassion, or friend, or it's important to know a little bit about Buddha, Bodhisattva's activity, how they practice, and what they have said, and how they react with those difficulties, so that we will understand, wow, that's something, as I was mentioning, that is something important I wanted to have, I wanted to be. So and then see, this is important why we have to have a human teacher, because I can teach you about bodhicitta for 1 month, maybe it might not be that effective. But if you have one good, real bodhicitta practitioner teacher, if you spend 1 day with this person, the effect is more powerful. You can feel the bodhicitta, you can smell the bodhicitta almost, you will be really inspired. I don't know, for example, there are some Lama who really emphasize bodhicitta, like Garchen Rinpoche, it's one Tibetan Lama. And when you get teaching from him for maybe once, or spend 1 to 2 days, it's a different. It really makes your mind a little bit like what we call if there's a seed, and when the moist is there, seeds start coming, sprout. So actually that happens. So this source of inspiration is very important. And this is also one reason why in our tradition we read a lot about this namtar, the life stories. But not only that, you can also look at the sufferings, and you can also inspire through the suffering as well. So this is what we call the conditions of seeing or hearing, the qualities of Buddha, qualities of their body, speech, and mind, and so on and so forth. And it's also called in faith of inspiration. Now the second thing is, we can call it maybe like conditions of having a good opportunity. So that means like having a good environment, like there's Dharma, that you hear Dharma here and there, and you have an opportunity to study about the Dharma, and you have Dharma friends who talks about the Dharma. So that kind of physical environment that you have, so this is opportunity. And also, as I was saying, that if you are practicing daily, so each morning, we go through these practices, it will remind you. In the text it says 3 to 6 times that you have to do practice session, even the short, so it reminds you, what is bodhicitta. So these are called the conditions of having a good environmental opportunity. And the third is appreciation. If you don't know what you have, then you might lose them without even knowing it. So appreciating, wow, I'm born as human being, and I have a chance to listen, I have a chance to know about what is bodhicitta, what is self-cherishing mind. Think about, there's so many sentient beings who even never heard the word bodhicitta once, and we have this opportunity, not only having the opportunity of hearing, but having the opportunity of practicing, and so on and so forth. So bodhicitta as well as Mahayana path, and also appreciating all these people who are causes and conditions for you to practice, such as, let's say, if you're practicing somewhere, there's somebody who's bringing you food, or there's a teacher who is trying best to make you understand what is bodhicitta and practice. So all those friends, our spiritual teacher, the conditions who helps you to understand the Dharma in general, especially the bodhicitta, of becoming, like we can call it the conditions. So you have to really appreciate each of them, having the time, having the energy, having the opportunity to listening, all these things. And the fourth one is called the understanding the rareness of Mahayana teaching as well as bodhicitta. So according to we can say, it is very rare that you can encounter with such a teaching, Mahayana, Mahayana general especially. So you have to have a lot of previous karmic causes and conditions in order to have that. And especially in these days, the degenerate time, practicing bodhicitta is not easy because we have so much of competitiveness, there's so many things that are happening. So in such a degenerated time, instead of being, instead of being discouraged or saying, oh, I cannot practice in this degenerated time, you have to be more courageous in saying that even in this degenerated time, I have an opportunity to practice such a profound. So, rareness of the bodhicitta practice in such a degenerate time. And it is really mentioned, amazing how rare it is, even though these days when we encounter it easily, we just forget, it's easy, but actually it's not. So there's mentioned so many about the rareness of bodhicitta in the sutras and the tantras, and as well as in the commentaries. And just being able to think one time, oh, bodhicitta, and just being able to recite one verse of bodhicitta, we accumulated so much merit. So we have to appreciate that, oh, just being able to recite about this Bodhicitta one verse once a time a day is amazing, really, from that point of view. So these are the four conditions: the conditions of seeing or hearing, conditions of having opportunity, conditions of appreciating and having a gratitude towards everybody, and the understanding the rareness of the Bodhicitta in such a degenerate time. There's one verse said that, there are many words talks about the how many merit they will create just by thinking one moment of the Bodhicitta. So these are the four conditions. And the four causes is the first one is called being born into the lineage of the lineage of Maya and his teaching vessel or something like that. That means like, unfortunately, we are born as human being and we have this opportunity, but among the human beings, we are the only few people who have this opportunity. So this is coming from our previous life's karmic force. So it's not random. So we should understood this is the result of lots of my effort. So I should not let them be just decay. I should really use it. And second thing is that the guidance of spiritual teacher. So if we have a good guidance of spiritual teacher, they will remind us, they will teach us, and they will encourage us to generate this bodhicitta. So the guidance of our good spiritual teacher is very important. We need to have that in order to understand, discover our bodhicitta. And the third is that having concern about other people's feeling, other beings' feeling. Because many times, if you disregard other people's feeling, just saying, "Oh, it's not my problem," and this is a very big obstacle in order to develop our bodhicitta. And there's lots of in the Bodhicitta Avadara, and there's a lot of discussions between like people like Shantideva and other, and Shantideva says that, because many times we say that it's their suffering, so why should I care? So we have this I don't care. Maybe even we have this saying that it's not my problem, right? So we have this so remember, the practicing the equanimity is important. See, if we don't practice the equanimity, we always say, yeah, suffering, but it's not my suffering, so I don't care, right? So Shantideva says that that's not true, because suffering has to be eliminated because it's a suffering. It doesn't matter whether it's your suffering or somebody else's suffering. And nobody wants to be suffered, right? That's the point, logical. So it doesn't matter if it's your suffering or somebody else's suffering. Suffering is a suffering. Just saying that it's not my suffering, it's just our ego talking. It's not the common sense. Because if you don't want suffering, and if somebody likes suffering, then you can say it's not my problem, they like it, but it's not. And you don't want to help, and you just don't want to feel bad, and then you are saying that it's not my problem. So as long as everybody don't want suffering, as long as we have feeling, as long as it is suffering, then it's everybody's responsibility to help each other, because it's a suffering, right? So this practice of equanimity and thinking that freeing from happiness is a right of everybody, and if there's something we can do, we should do it, not thinking that it's not my suffering, So this having concern to other people's feeling is a very important one cause. And the one thing is not having, the last one is not having a small heart. It means not having an aversion towards the hardship, because many times what happens is that I like to practice Bodhicitta, but there's so many human beings, when I think about all these sentient beings, I just feel exhausted, right? There's so many suffering, so you immediately give up because think, oh, I cannot do it, it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's too much burden, right? And you start you do nothing. So to have a little bit courage, not having the aversions towards the hardship, not like if it's easy I will do it, if it's difficult I don't know, and that will be. So to have a big heart, it's one cause. So being born into the lineage and relying towards the proper guidance, spiritual teacher, and having concerns towards the other people's feeling, and not having aversion towards the hardship. So these are the causes, 4 causes, in order to discover and develop our bodhicitta. And it also, there's also 4 powers. It called it power in the sense that if you have these conditions, it will boost, it will help us to develop as soon as possible. And the first one is called the self-power. So that means, yes, we need teacher, we need to teaching everything. This is important because sometimes we rely too much to someone else, and we will lose our own self-esteem. So this is saying that yes, we need teacher, we need teaching, but ultimately it's you. You have to take your responsibilities. Teacher cannot really make you bodhisattva. He will try his best unless you take responsibility. So you have to take your own responsibility, sense of responsibility, and have okay, I have to do something by myself. Teacher teaching, all these conditions are favorable, but I cannot just rely just on that. So this is we call the self-power, having the self-esteem, sense of responsibility. And the second is for the other power. It means that you should not be too arrogant in thinking, oh, I don't need teacher, I don't need teaching, That is also a little bit becoming arrogant. So again, relying on the outer conditions such as the teacher teachings, not disregarding them completely. So to keeping balance between self and other. Now you see, both are important. Not being arrogant. And the third one is called the power of cause, and this is similar to the we talked about the first cause. Means that some people have this natural instinct, immediately when you are very young, you like to practice in bodhicitta, and if you read all these great masters, they have this very innate, natural how to say, longing, loves towards bodhicitta, and which is coming from our past life's karmic power. So this is what we call the power of cause, and which means that if you want next life to have a good bodhicitta, you really have to put some effort this life, which will affect your next life, as a cause, power of cause. And then the power of potential, the 4 days. Now again, it's very interesting, this 4 power. Mostly what will happen is that we choose one of them and we fall into the extreme. Yeah. So, oh, arrogant, or oh, my teacher will do everything, I don't have to work, right? So both of these are wrong. Again, the power of cause is talking about the potential that comes from the previous life. You already have it without effort. But then you cannot say that, okay, so if I have karma, I will practice. If I don't have karma, I won't, it's just my karma. That is again denying the dependent origination. So this power of potential is, yes, karma makes difference, but also you can create the new karma, new potential. Yeah? It doesn't really mean that it all depends on my karma and now I cannot do anything. It's not. So having understanding of this potential that actually you can change things by doing in this life, creating the condition. So balancing this two thing, power karma of past life or potential of this life. And when you combine together, you are in the middle. So these 4 powers, it keeps you in the middle, not fall into the extremes. So the power of self, which is self-esteem, and power of other, which is also having a faith and respect to our spiritual masters, and power of cause, which comes from our previous karma, as well as power of potential, that we can actually do something in this life in order to discover and develop our bodhicitta. So yeah, these are some causes, conditions, and the power in order to develop our bodhicitta. And it's important to think ourselves again and again whether I have or I don't have. If I don't have, how I can cultivate these things. And another thing is that there are some misperceptions that we might have about bodhicitta, and it's important to be clear. So I think if you have this cause, conditions, power, and you almost have all the causes and conditions, which are the favorable conditions to discover and to develop our mind of enlightenment and bodhicitta. Yeah, and very important that yes, action is important, but action comes from this wish. So even though wish is a thought, but it's very, very important. Without that, we cannot start. Sunam diye tamche sikpani tamne nepe dranam pamje ne kega nachi bala drupai sipe sole drova shu. By this merit may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings.